with the evening. So if you've just joined us, very warm welcome. My name's Arthasiddhi, and this is meditation night at the Cambridge Buddhist Centre. We're here in the lower shrine room. I'm here with Samudra Gosha, who's my tech assistant. That's his hand. We live in the same house, so social distancing isn't a problem. You don't need to worry that we're transgressing social distancing. Yeah, and tonight we're going to be looking at we're going to be doing the mindfulness of breathing. And what I want to do tonight is I want to look at really where we're going with the mindfulness of breathing. So one way of talking about that is this word absorption. And I think that's a very, very helpful word to give us some sort of sense of where we're aiming to get in meditation. It's a lovely word, absorption. And I want to show how really what absorption is the sort of resolution of all our sort of distracted, conflicting sort of drives. That's I think probably the most helpful way, or one of the most helpful ways to think about what we're doing with meditation. So just stepping back, previous weeks we've been talking about interest, how important it is to actually get interested, take time to get interested in the breath. You can't sort of do concentration. The way we talk about it sometimes sounds like you can do, you know, you just, are you concentrating or are you not? As though you can just sort of do it. Not a very helpful way of thinking about meditation. You just sort of do concentration. Much better to think in terms of kind of getting interested. How can you get interested in the mind? And if you can get interested, you can then sort of emotionally resolve to engage, to continue to engage with the focus of the meditation, the breath. And that way you can kind of keep coming back to it. And if we can do that, if we're sort of genuinely interested and emotionally resolved to engage with it, and we keep coming back, absorption can arise. So what is this state of absorption? Could you just get my caser? I just realised I forgot to put my caser on there. Error of all errors. Yeah, so what is this state of absorption? Well, as I was saying, it's a bit better. As I was saying, you can't really just decide to concentrate on the breath. If you do think in that sort of way, you're going to struggle. Really, it's a bit more like we get absorbed in the breath. So what's wonderful about that word is that it sort of suggests that we involve more and more of our kind of our mental energies in the breath. We sort of absorb the currents of interest, the currents of mind, if you like, in the breath, in the concentration, in the focus of concentration. So I think that's a really, really helpful way to think about it. It's also got this sense of kind of something moving, hasn't it? We talk in terms of flow. This word flow, you can have a sort of moment of flow. I had this earlier this afternoon, actually, as I was preparing for this class. For some reason, preparing for classes, I mean, I've had quite a sort of demanding week in a lot of ways. I was thinking, oh gosh, I've got to prepare a class, and how am I going to sort of put these things out of my mind to prepare for class? But actually, preparing, I just got absorbed in what I was thinking about. So there's this sense of kind of actually that the mind sort of was flowing into the subject. It became easy to think about it. So that's what absorption is like. And it's very interesting, isn't it? Where do we experience that experience of flow? We can't make it happen, but it sort of seems like it happens to us almost. What's happening is our deeper currents, unconscious currents, are starting to get involved. Deeper sort of unconscious currents of our mind are starting to get involved in what we're doing. And that is because it's important to us. With me, preparing classes, I'm sort of deeply interested actually in the fact that we can actually work on our minds. I find that fascinating. I find that really fascinating. But more than that, what I find more than that is that we can also communicate about it. We can communicate in a way that helps other people learn how to do that. I find that just gripping. So there's kind of something that really, really interests me that comes into play, and I start to get absorbed in the subject of my reflections. So in a certain way, the absorbed mind has kind of purpose. It's got a sense of purpose, and I don't mean purpose in the sense of just doing what's on your to-do list, though it does have a bearing on that. I mean purpose as in our deeper purpose. The sort of purpose that you don't choose, but you discover. I've sort of discovered that I'm really, really very interested in how we can change our minds. I didn't sort of set out, it wasn't sort of conscious decision, it's something I've discovered. So we sort of discover our purpose, what our deeper purpose is, and actually that is part of getting absorbed. So what I'm sort of getting at here is that that often our mind is sort of dispersed. There are sort of competing interests in our minds, a bit of anxiety, kind of thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to do this? And, kind of jumping forward into the future. There might be a bit of sort of irritation or something about something that happened in the past. In this way, there are little sort of eddies of currents of interest in our mind that are actually competing, conflicting. So our mind isn't sort of flowing, absorbed in anything, actually. It's just sort of dispersed. And that's frustrating. In lockdown, you might have experienced elements of sort of frustration. Where is my sense of purpose? Well, purpose is actually a sort of deeper issue. Anyway, we can come into contact with it through meditation. So I think this is a really helpful way to think about deepening into meditation. So very easily, those distractions, we just kind of want to squash them, want to push them away. Well, that's most of the time not going to be very helpful. Instead, if we acknowledge that our mind is distracted and try to follow the distraction back into the body, look underneath the distraction, what is the interest here? Where is the interest or the concern in this? Why am I thinking about this? If we can follow that back, actually, we can very often then start to turn the interest towards the meditation. And in this way, we're involving more of the currents of interest in our mind in the meditation. I think that's a much more helpful way to think about getting concentrated. Otherwise, we're just trying to do it. Actually, we need to identify where our interest is and see if we can involve it in the meditation. And what you'll often find is that your mental preoccupations are a kind of dead end sort of interest. They're probably even self-defeating. We're sort of worrying about something. We're not actually doing anything constructive about it, or we're irritated about someone, arguing with them in our minds, but it's not actually kind of doing anything. Often, now the best thing to do is to develop a more focused, more positive, more clear state of mind. That's going to be more valuable to the nature of the interest that's spiraling off into anxiety or irritation. So that's what I'm proposing that we do in the meditation. We kind of look at the mind in terms of sort of involving more of the mind in the object of our attention. So I mean, occasionally you're gonna sit down and you're in a sort of a rage or something like that. But I'll come back to that in a moment. But if we can kind of get interested in the mind, in the meditation, develop interest, then we can start to emotionally resolve. Okay, I think I can engage with the breath. I think I can just keep coming back to the breath. If we can do that, if we're sort of emotionally resolved to do that, we can start to just let these other eddies of interest be there. We just allow them into our awareness. Oh gosh, there's a bit of sort of anxiety in my mind, keeps going off thinking about this. Just come back into the focus on the breath, but let that interest be there. This is really, really important, because often what we do is we grab hold of the focus of the breath, we sort of grasp it too tightly. And you will be able to sustain that for a bit, but probably what will happen is further along in the meditation, your meditation will fall apart. You know, in that sit, you'll be kind of tightly sort of holding on to the focus, but it sort of feels like it's being sort of what's the word? The sort of an ambush on your meditation. It sort of disrupts your ability to focus, and that's because really what we're doing is we're holding on to the focus and pushing away a sort of current of interest. So let's try and stay with the focus, but just allow these other currents. Oh, look, there's a bit of anxiety there. Isn't that interesting? That's making me think this. Just let that be there for now. So we're not grasping the focus too tightly, but on the other hand, we're not just sort of letting our mind go wherever it wants. We're finding this sort of relaxed balance that interest and an emotional resolve to stay with the practice actually affords us. Yeah, so that's how we're going to kind of try and focus on that. And if we can do that, we've got the sort of poise to be able to go, okay, what is that? What is the interest of that anxiety? What's it really about? And can I actually better address that concern, that interest, through this meditation? In that way, we can actually interest that little eddy and involve it in the meditation. This way, we can kind of, it's probably a more effective way a lot of the time to work with distractions and hindrances. So in a way, we shouldn't think of our distractions and hindrances as kind of problems to be squashed or pushed out. Actually, it's more like they're sort of misguided. They're sort of dead-end, kind of self-defeating pursuits that we habitually sort of follow. But their concern often is can be used to come more into the meditation. And it's in this way that actually our distractions, our distracted mind, the little eddies actually kind of resolve into purpose. Because really, what we're anxious about, well, we do need to address that. We do need to address that, but we're actually addressing it in a way that actually addresses it, rather than just sort of goes round in circles. So this sort of absorbed mind is actually a sort of purposive mind that actually is better addressing the nature of our concerns. So that's what I'm going to suggest we we pursue in this meditation. So if you like now to just set yourself up for meditation. So if you get your cushions and set yourself up in meditation posture as soon as you can. And I'm going to lead us through the mindfulness of breathing. Great, so when you're ready, just closing your eyes. And I've been thinking in terms of this image of night vision when you turn out the lights. It's a kind of wonderful moment where you can't see anything. You're sort of in the dark, in the unknown. But then given time, your night vision starts to emerge. Well, our inner experience is like that. So just allowing time for our night vision, as it were, to adjust the detail of our inner world to reveal itself. To our awareness. And you feel the sort of buzz of the sensation of the body. Noticing any thoughts and the sort of mood of your thoughts, the tenor of your thoughts, the character of your thoughts. Noticing anything that's coming into awareness about your mood, whether it's a bit heavy and closed down, or whether it's open, bright, light, or somewhere in between. Or some combination of the two. Just allowing all that into your awareness as our sort of night vision comes to us. And within the breadth of all that experience, feeling the ground beneath us, supporting us. Notice how you don't need to do anything for the ground to support us, support you. And then feeling the alertness in the posture, in the torso. See if alertness can naturally express itself in the posture of the torso, letting the chin just tuck in and the crown of the head without trying, just see if it can lift, almost as an intention and a physical thing. And now we're going to give ourselves a bit of time to get interested in the breathing. Making this transition from getting something to being interested. So first thing to do is not to jump on the breath as the focus. See if you can become aware of where you're already aware of the sensations of breathing. Probably not all over the body, it's probably just in certain places. So where is that? How do you actually know you're breathing? We know it in our heads, but that's not going to help us. Where in your physical experience can you sense? Are you sensing breathing? Where is it most vividly experienced? And then see if you can see if there's any interest in the breath as it actually is. Doesn't need to be strong interest. Just a little bit of interest. Perhaps in the character of the breath. Is it short and sharp or long and slow? Working in your own way to get interested, to take an interest in the breath. And now as we follow that interest, moving into the first stage, just seeing if you can emotionally resolve how to work in this first stage. Deciding to do something that you know you can do, whether it's just soothe the mind with the breathing, or just staying with the sensations of the breathing in the lower body. You decide. Something you can emotionally resolve. Do. It's fine if you slip off. That's why we're resolving. In the first stage of the mindfulness. And when it's helpful, just encouraging that resolve to stay with the breath by counting after the out breath. 1, 2, 3, and deciding how many to count up to is going to be helpful for you today. And if you're already becoming aware of distractions, great, let them be there. Give them their place. We want the energy, the interest that's involved in them to be available to us, to our meditation. But just keep coming back to what you've resolved to do for now. Let them be there. And keeping our grasp on the focus relaxed, not grasping too tightly. It's fine if we go off. That's meditating. We want those currents of interest to be alive in our mind, to learn the skill of involving more and more of our interest, our mind in focus. And not worrying about results, just trusting in our emotional resolve. And our interest in the breath, sensations of breathing. Letting distractions be there, coming into the body, sensations of breathing. And now in the second stage, we can just start by broadening out, noticing if there's been any change in our mind, noticing where we've come from, what we've learnt about our minds before resolving again how best to engage in stage 2, where we count just before the in-breath. If you need to come back to interest, re-find your interest in the breath. Then that's the most helpful thing to do. And when your mind goes off, that's fine, keeping a relaxed focus, letting the distractions be there, and trusting in your resolve and its effects. And if you're finding there aren't any distractions, then see if you can stay with the whole of the breath, whole of the in-breath, whole of the out-breath, and only count 1 if you've done that. Sometimes there are deeper currents that we're not aware of as yet, deeper distractions, eddies. And then in the third stage, if it's helpful, continue counting. If it's helpful, drop in the counting. And first, just stopping to notice, have we come any distance since the start? Has there been any change in our mind state? For re-engaging emotionally resolving to engage. And in this stage, if there are distractions, let's see if we can learn anything more about the nature of the interest that's driving that distraction. And can we skillfully, uncoercively interest it in meditation, in cultivating clearer, more absorbed states of mind, more purposive states of mind. Is that what best addresses the concern, perhaps? Just exploring that. Keeping the awareness of the breath in the background as we do this. Watchful of any tendency to push away, keeping a loose, relaxed grasp on our focus, on the breath. And as we move into the last stage, noticing, even if you haven't resolved anything, if the mind is any more absorbed in the breath. And then choosing a finer point of focus where you experience the breath in this last stage. In this way, involving the purposive nature of our concerns in the practice of meditation, developing a positive, clear mental states. And now, as we come towards the end of the practice, is dropping any effort that you're making and just sitting, absorbing fruits of your efforts. Allowing them to well up into your mind, making no effort. Really important stage of the practice. Just being receptive to what's happening in the mind as you do that. And now adjusting to include in your awareness the sounds around you. Everyone else here at meditation night. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Great. So as you're adjusting, I should have said this at the beginning, sorry about this, but we're now going to invite you into Zoom for the question and answers session. It just means we can see each other. So if you, Samudra Ghosh is just sending you in the chat function the link, the Zoom link. So come along, come on in. And we can just explore this a bit more with question and answers. You're welcome if you prefer just to stay on YouTube. It's probably what we're going to be doing in future weeks. But for this week, come on in. And if you come as soon as possible, actually, because there's a bit of time delay. And if you as you come, turn your YouTube off. Otherwise, we get sort of echo effect. So come along in. And we'll just explore this area a bit more. It'd be lovely to have you all with us here in Zoom. And Stephen, our host, will allow you in. You'll arrive in a waiting room. He'll allow you in.
Stephen, for some reason, my link posting hasn't come out. If there are other people, do you want to do it yourself?
Oh, we're having technical difficulties. Stephen will just repost the link. Yeah, very odd thing because I can see the link has been posted, but obviously other people aren't able to access that for some reason. Anyway, it should be there. Should be there now. Great. It looks like people are perhaps starting to arrive. Looks like we've got Shirley here with us. Oh, her face hasn't popped up as yet. Hello, Shirley. Aha, calamity abounds. The wrong link was given. We will do an evening without any glitches at some point. But we just want to be thoroughly practiced with all the possible glitches before we do that. Oh, great. Hi, Mike. Good to have you here with us. Great. Oh, and Ben and Juliet. Hi, nice to have you with us. And Adele is arriving. Great. Hi, Adele. And Ian, welcome, Ian.
Hi, Arthasiddhi. Nice to see you and everybody.
Nice to see you. Great. Oh, and we've got Andy with us, Andy Blackford. Hi there, Andy. Nice to have you with us. Great. Oh, and we've got Andy with us, Andy Blackford. Hi there, Andy. Nice to have you with us. Oh, great. Hi, Nikhil and Bella. Very nice to see you. Great. So probably there's just a few more people arriving. Yeah, it's rather clunky, this transition, isn't it, from YouTube to Zoom. So we're thinking actually we probably won't continue to do this. We've got, is that Bernie? Jolly good. Hi, Bernie. Nice to see you. But yeah, there's perhaps a few more people arriving. I'm here on Samudra Ghosh's phone as well as on his computer. It's all rather mind-boggling. Great. So as people are arriving, yeah, just an opportunity for questions to sort of explore this a bit further. So yeah, if you can just put in the chat function. So Vidyasaki is going to sort of be a question moderator. She'll sort of collect the questions because there may be people on YouTube as well. We're still on YouTube, so we don't want to invite you all onto YouTube by speaking your questions. Instead, if you write your questions in the chat box, then we can kind of collect the questions, see if there's any interesting questions kind of bubbling up about this area of absorption, and absorption really being sort of resolution of the distracted mind. It's not like we've got two minds. It's like the distracted mind's just sort of got eddies within it, pointing in all sorts of different directions, and the absorbed mind, our energies are sort of flowing into the object of our attention. So yeah, any questions about this area, questions and comments, anything that you found helpful, anything you didn't find helpful? And Vidyasaki will moderate for us. So Vidyasaki, yeah.
Yeah, I think this may have been Ben rather than Juliet. What do you do if you find yourself absorbed in something that is not the breath?
yeah. Which we all too often are, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah. So what do you do? I think that is the great. Yeah, it's the great challenge, isn't it? How do we sort of wean our interest off fruitless pursuits onto? And I think it's I think it's a real skill, actually, doing that, and it's going to depend on what the interest is. I know for you, Ben, you've got quite an interested, discursive mind, haven't you? So I could well imagine you're sort of thinking about things and quite interested to in what you're thinking about, and that is a real challenge, isn't it? Because it's a genuine, valuable interest. So why would I put it down and get involved in the breath? And I think that's what you need to engage with, actually. It's a bit like we can't kid the mind. You can't tell the mind to be interested. The mind is interested. It's already interested. So you can't kid it. So you have to genuinely negotiate with the mind. Is this really what I want to do now? If so, maybe I'll stop the meditation and I'll get up and I'll go and reflect. Or is there some value? I think often we get into either or thinking, don't we? But for example, with reflection, my reflection is much more penetrating if I meditate. So that's a way of sort of interesting our interest to reflect in meditation, if you see what I mean. That can then take our reflection further. So I think that's the sort of way we need to work. We need to work quite honestly. Often we want to be in control. We flatter ourselves with the notion of control. We're not in control of our minds, really. Our interests are sort of deeper than us. That's why we need to discover them, and then we can work out how to sort of direct them. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that answers goes some way. But if it doesn't, then just write in a bit further. Are there any more questions, Vidyasaki?
Yeah, Mike is raising his hand, so I think he wants to speak. Which?
Oh yes, okay, yeah. Well, if you're fine going on YouTube, Mike, that's fine.
Oh, hi, Arthasiddhi. Do you find the longer that you practice meditation, that it becomes easier to manage distractions? If you do, are there certain mechanics and things that you would use to help you do that?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So when you say the longer you meditate, you mean in terms of years rather than in terms of I usually meditate for 15 minutes, but I'll meditate for 40 today. Is that what you mean? Yes,
yeah, the number of years that you've been meditating.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, it's really interesting. I think overall that is true. I think in a way what happens is you sort of get humbled by the practice of meditation. You realize what you're up against. So that means you're better placed to actually sort of engage with it. Very often with my hindrances, I know with certain hindrances, I can't confront them head on. That just won't work. I need to sort of give them a little bit of rope. There's one metaphor which is taming a wild animal, and I think that's a really appropriate metaphor for the mind. If you're taming a wild animal, sometimes you need to give it quite a lot of rope, but you don't let go of the rope. Sometimes you need to pull it to quite assertively. You need to act with sort of confidence. Yeah. So I think in a way, the simple answer is yes, that you do over the years develop a whole sort of battery of ways of approaching the tendency of the mind to distraction. You also, as I say, get sort of humbler and realize what a challenge it is, and that actually helps a lot because then you're more realistic. But in a way, I can't say, here's a trick, this will solve it. I wish I could, and if I could, I'd tell you it, but it's more like actually in the process. I think one of the key things is that actually you're working with your own interest. So you need to get to know your own interest. It's your own interest that is going to allow you to involve more of yourself in the breath. So I can't tell you how to do that because your interest is distinctive to you, if you see what I mean. So you're going to have to learn how to sort of wield that yourself. But the way to do that is to keep meditating, basically, and keep in dialogue with experienced meditators. I hope that's helpful, Mike.
Thank you.
So it's 8 o'clock, and I was meant to say we can just take a little break so that we can clap for people. Sorry, I should have kept my eye on the time. So Mudrigesha was pointing to his watch. So we can just have a 2-minute break. We can go and clap. We wanted to be able to sort of include this in the class because it's so in keeping with the aims of the class, really. So just come back in 3 minutes, or if you want to stay here, if you're not going to clap, that's fine, obviously. But many people wanted to clap, so we'll just come back in 3 minutes. Ooh. Hello, Sue. I didn't see you slip into the Zoom meeting. Nice to see you.
I had trouble getting in the on the link, and so I fiddled around and got another email. There was a big heart in the sky. Did anybody see it?
No.
It was the plane had made a big heart in the sky with a smile. It's fantastic.
No, delightful.
Brilliant.
Great, welcome back. I didn't see you arrive, Rebecca, either. Nice to have you with us. You probably had trouble getting into Zoom as well, did you?
I was having a lot of trouble.
Yeah, so this is partly why next week we're just going to keep it on YouTube, but also well, Vidyasaki will say a bit more, but there's also the morning meditations which we'll keep on Zoom. We want to sort of have both possibilities available, both be reaching out to more people and also sort of the sense of kind of getting to know each other a bit, being able to see each other.
Have we got time for one more? Because
one more question.
There's this question from Bernie.
Oh yeah.
I think he'd like you to say a bit more about trying, because you said something about trying to interest the distraction in the meditation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that you can't kid the mind. I think Bernie found both of these interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think in a way it sort of boils down to the fact that our distractions often aren't very deeply self-serving. You know, like if you get anxious about something, you're kind of worrying about something. That act of actually worrying about it often does no service to the actual concern. You know, maybe you're concerned about a conversation you're going to have that's going to be a bit difficult or something. What the current of anxiety gets kind of caught up in kind of worrying about it. It makes no difference. In actual fact, it often takes us back. If we can actually sort of identify what is my concern here, what really am I why am I doing this? And you realise that you're concerned because you want the communication to go well, or you want to be seen positively by that person. If you can identify the concern, often meditation is the better response. Will sort of address that concern better. But we often don't bother, you know, really sort of investigating what is the nature of my concern here. Yeah, so that's what I was meaning. I think sometimes, you know, we just sort of in an absolute rage. We sit down and you know, our mind is sort of consumed, and you can't work in this more more sort of coaxing kind of way. You just need to say, I am not going to think about that person. I am not going to think about that person. I am not going to think about, you know, that is your meditation sort of thing. But often we're not there, and we can work to sort of coax our concern towards the fruitful pursuit of meditation. But yeah, we can't sort of kid our mind. We have to genuinely get to the root of what the concern is, and then we can then our mind becomes negotiable. It's prepared to negotiate because you're actually listening to the concern. I hope that explains it a little bit, Bernie.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Great. Oh, it makes sense to Sue. I'm pleased about that. Great. So now comes the time where I hand over to Vidyasaki, who's just going to say a little bit about what's coming up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Arthasiddhi. Yeah, it's really interesting exploration of absorption. And what we're aiming to do with this meditation night and with our morning meditations, which are on a Saturday and a Monday morning at 8 o'clock, is giving you really the tools and the support you need to maintain a regular meditation practice. do think about coming to the morning meditations. Many of you already do come, actually. They start at 8 o'clock on a Saturday and a Monday, and we'll sort of pick up on themes and ideas that have arisen in the meditation night and explore them in the context of meditation in the morning. And a morning meditation practice is can be just really it's the best time to meditate, really, because the day hasn't sort of piled into your brain already. And another thing I wanted to mention was that we're going to be running a course, a Life with Full Attention course, starting on the 11th of June, which is about 2 or 3 weeks' time. So it feels to me, I don't know about you, but it feels to me a bit like we're moving into a slightly different phase now in the lockdown. And actually, maybe we're beginning, maybe the new normal is kind of beginning to sort of take hold, and we're getting into routines, habits. And now would be actually a really good time maybe to do a little bit of an inventory or an audit of how you're spending your time. How are you doing in your meditation? What are you doing with your mind on a daily basis? And look at ways of how you can sort of optimize that. So that's what this course, Life with Full Attention, really helps you out with. It's a way of cultivating, and if you like, optimizing mindfulness in your daily life. And we'll be running that course on a Thursday night. It'll be on Zoom, and it will support your mindfulness practice on a daily basis. You'll be part of a home group that will give you more support and input. And yeah, every week we'll be looking at a different aspect of mindfulness in daily life. I've done this course quite a few times, and it's always been a revelation, and it's always been a fantastic shared experience. So if you've never done Life with Full Attention, then this may be just the time to sign up for it. And if you have done it before, maybe it would be a really good time to do it again, actually. Life has changed so much since you last did it. So look out for details about that course on our website. We'll be sending out an email. It'll be up on the website very soon as a bookable event. We won't be charging the old prices for that. So it'll be a by donation, and you'll need to buy the book that goes with the course. But yeah, it'd be great to see you on that course. Anything else? Well, yes. Just to say that we're not charging for this evening's meditation either. But if you are able to make a donation, that would be very much appreciated, really helpful for us at this time. So we recommend £3 to £5 as a one-off donation. But if you're coming more regularly to our events at Cambridge Buddhist Centre online, do think about taking out a standing order. Actually, many of you already do have a standing order. Thank you very much. It's very, very helpful. But if you don't already have a standing order, even just quite a small one, really helps us to sort of plan ahead, and helps us to see, how we're doing financially in the longer term. We really want to keep on providing a doorway, if you like, into meditation and the Dharma in this way. And we need your support to enable us to do that. So I think that's everything I've got to say for this evening. Really good to see you all. And I don't know what I do now. Maybe I just say goodbye. Maybe we can just go to gallery view, and everybody can just sort of unmute and say goodbye, and hopefully see you here again soon.